What is up, everybody? I have so much to update you guys on. We are now more than halfway through July, which is pretty incredible. And the month of June was by far the best month I've ever had in poker at the World Series of Poker, and I cannot wait to share with you guys all that happened. But first, I just pulled up to TCH Dallas. I'm playing on the live stream. I'm running a little bit late.
It's a trap.
And I'm sure my editor is gonna put some sort of comment about me always running late, whatever. But I just got here. We're gonna play some 5-5-10 match stack on the live stream with some familiar faces that have played on the live streams before. But the last two live streams I've played on, I've been so card dead, spot dead, and tonight I want to get in the mix. I want to get some good hands for the vlog. So tonight's going to be really exciting. I'm super stoked to get in there and play some hands and play in this big game. So we're going to be in for 2K to start, but it is match stack, so the game gets huge. All right, I'll see you guys in there. Let's go play some 5-5 match stack here at Texas Card House Dallas. I am so excited to be back at my home poker room here in Dallas, Texas, TCH Dallas, and today I'm playing in a very big 5-5-10 match stack game where we all start with $2,000, and at any time after there is a stack that's more than $2,000, you can top up and match the biggest stack at the table. You guys have seen me play on this live stream a few times before, and every single time it has been quite a roller coaster, and today, in one of the last hands of the night, things get insane. So I'm excited for you guys to see this one and hopefully learn from a few of my mistakes. So let's get into the vlog and play some hands. So right away in this 5-5 match to stack live stream game, we have straddling going on to $20. So in this hand, I look down at pocket jacks and I open it up to $65. The player to my left, who goes by Bridge Mike, super nice guy, and apparently one of the best, if not the best, bridge player in the world. So pretty crazy, got to learn a little bit about his story tonight. I have absolutely no idea how he plays, if he's aggressive, if he's tight, if he's loose, if he's passive, but he puts in a 3-bet to $210. And then one of our favorite characters to play against, Mr. Randy, he puts in the flat with 5-4 of diamonds. There's really not that many hand combinations that Randy doesn't like to see a flop with, so he puts in the call. Everyone else folds, and now it's on me. I don't particularly like 4-betting jacks. It's almost like you're turning your hand into a bluff. We do have a great hand, however, it is susceptible to being outflopped by a hand like ace-king, ace-queen, king-queen. The problem is, if we put in a 4-bet and then get jammed on, we have to fold our strong pair. So I think being out of position against a player I don't know anything about, facing a 4-bet in this spot, I'm going to put in the call and see if we can navigate on certain board textures. There are some instances where if I know that he's a pretty active and aggressive player, we can definitely put in the 4-bet here and try to deny equity against a lot of hands just like this one. But obviously I don't know what he has. It's one of the first hands of the night, and my initial read was that he's probably very strong. So we're going to go 3 ways to a flop. The flop is Queen 6 deuce with 2 spades, so we do face an overcard to our jacks on the board. We check it over to Bridge Mike and he bets $210. Randy folds and now it's on me. We're out of position and facing what seems to be a very strong range, and we have middle pair at this point. It's going to be very hard to navigate post-flop, especially, again, not knowing anything about my opponent. Facing a 3-bet, we can expect him to have a lot of strong hands like aces, ace-king, ace-queen, kings, queens, etc., all of which I'm completely dominated by, and even his semi-bluffs like king-queen offsuit, and maybe he likes to put in 3-bets with hands like king-queen suited. Well, now we're losing to all those. In general, it would seem pretty tight to fold jacks to 1-bet on a queen-high board, but for all the reasons I stated previously, we're gonna let this one go, move on to the next one, and luckily we made the right decision. In this hand, it's 5-5-10, and we get a massive raise under the gun to $75. Fire is in the cutoff and makes the call, and now it's on me on the button. I think we can consider starting to put in 3-bets with hands like pocket 9s and 10s, perhaps even 8s to deny equity and take position and control of the pot. However, it's also nice when you flop a set multi-way with a hand like pocket 8s, because the way these players play, they are not afraid to put money in the pot, and we would be insured to play a big one, and with a set, that's a great thing. So I decide to make the call. So now we're going multi-way to a flop of ace, queen, 7, rainbow. Randy with his 3 deuce suited puts in a bet of $65. Then BDD with his pair of 7s, repping a very strong hand raising under the gun, says that's not gonna cut it, we're gonna bump this up to $200. Fire folds, and now it's on me. Obviously, we have a very clear fold in this spot, especially multi-way on this type of board texture. There's no way our hand should be good. Ironically though, it was. But we put in the fold, and then Randy makes the call, they head to a turn card. And just to show you how wild this game is, I never do this, but I'm gonna finish out this hand even though I'm not a part of it. Now on the turn Randy checks, BDD is going to bet. Little does he know he's doing it for value. But Randy does pick up a flush draw with his 3-deuce suited. He has his little gutter trying to make a wheel or a flush on the river, so he makes the call of 400. The river brings an offsuit 6, and now Randy, like an absolute boss, he knows he can't win with his 3 high. He has no choice but to go all in. And then BDD snap fold. So this game is not lacking action. So we've got to find some good spots in this hand. It's not going to be cheap. We're going to have to get in the mix, but it's going to be a fun session. In this hand, there's another raise under the gun 2 to $75. I look down at pocket 8s on the button, yet again, deja vu. We're gonna flat here for all the same reasons I stated in the previous hand, so I make the call. Dunn also calls in the big blind with the queen 10 off, so we're going to go 3 ways to a flop. The flop is queen 5-6 with 2 diamonds. The big blind checks, the original razor checks, and now it's on me. It's a queen high board, we have pocket 8s, it needs protection. Sure, some of the time we're going to be out flopped, but against these 2 wide ranges, our pocket 8s should fare well a decent amount of the time. So I put in a bet of $100, hoping to fold out at least one of my opponents. My plan works as the original razor folds and Dunn comes along, so we're going to go heads up to a turn card, which is the 10 of clubs. Dunn checks, and now I'm going to have to check this one back. We have third pair. If we continue betting here, we're likely going to be called by hands that have us beat or draws that aren't going to fold anyway, like straight draws, hands like 7-4, 3-4, 7-8, although I do double block that, and all diamond draws, and now any club draws. So we're going to head to a river card, which is the king of clubs. Dunn now puts together a bet of $200. This is where I'm a little unhappy with myself. On this board texture, we're going to have way better hands to put in a hero call in this spot. Even a hand like ace 10 would probably be better. We also double block 7-8, which could be bluffing the river. We also have a diamond in our hand, which is bad because it removes some of his diamond bluffs on the river, but we do have the 8 of clubs, which is good because it blocks him having some flushes. At the time, I didn't want to get run over. I felt like I was a little bit at the table, so I didn't want to be exploited on the river, especially against Dunn, who I've seen him bluff the river many times out of position against his opponents, and I know he's a very capable player. But like I said, pocket 8s is just too weak to put in the hero call here. However, I put the cape on, felt like being a hero. I was hoping to see a hand like ace-x of diamonds or some weird gutter type missed straight draw on the river, but I just get shown 2 pair, and I'm pretty disappointed in my call there for all the reasons I stated, but I've got to shake it off and continue to try and make some money on this live stream. So in this hand, I get a rare instance where it folds all the way around to me in the cutoff. I look down at Jack 6 of clubs. We're about 1,800 effective in this hand. There's no straddle in this hand, so I raise to $35. I'm not going to pass up a spot where I have a suited Jack in the cutoff, being in position, and hoping to gain position if the button folds. However, Bridge Mike does come along with his 6-3 of hearts. Brass Monkey and Dunn all come along, and the pot is already $220. The flop is Queen 5 deuce with 2 clubs, so we flop ourselves a Jack high flush draw. It checks all the way around to me, and with our Jack high flush draw, being the pre-flop raiser, and having position minus the button, for all these reasons, we're gonna start betting. We didn't enter this pot to just lay down, so I put out a c-bet of $75. Unfortunately for us, the button calls yet again, so does Brass Monkey. Dunn gets out of the way, so now we're going 3 ways to a turn card, which is an offsuit deuce. And now Brass Monkey leads for $200. He's trying to rep a very strong queen perhaps, maybe even a deuce. And now that I know a little bit more of how he plays, he can also be doing this with some of his flush draws as well. He's definitely a player who's not afraid to bluff. Now it's on me. I still have my Jack high flush draw, so now we can go into call mode. We don't need to put in a raise, and our hand is certainly good enough to put in the call. So I toss in the $200, and Bridge Mike finally lets his gutter go, and so now we're gonna go heads up to our river card. The river is an ace of clubs, so now we make our Jack high flush. Feels good to finally make a hand on this live stream. And now Brass Monkey bets $600. It's a little bit alarming, however, in this spot, he would have to have a hand like pocket 5s, queen deuce suited, so I'm not too concerned about him having a hand that has us beat. If he has a king high flush, then so be it. We can get called by all worse flushes, possibly even a deuce. There's no way he has, obviously, pocket queens or aces. He would have 3-bet those pre-flop. Given our opponent, we're going to go for max value on this river and hope to get called by worse, so I shove all in for 1.5k. It's not that much more for my opponent to call, but he does know I'm probably a little bit on the tighter side, playing in a game that's a little bit above my comfort level. So he does indeed make the correct fold. Unfortunately for us, we don't get that extra money, but we win a $3,000 pot, and now we're in Profitville on the session.
In this hand, the $25 straddle is on, and it folds around to me, and I'm on the button with 8-5 of spades. Because of how large this game gets and some of the pre-flop raises, I think it's actually kind of beneficial to put in some limps, especially being in position, so I decided to limp the 8-5 suited. Done limps as well, and then Randy looks down at pocket jacks in the straddle and raises to 75. This is a very small raise considering he's out of position and with multiple people already in the pot, so thankfully for us, he gives us a nice price to peel and see a flop with our button, so I put in the extra 50, and so does Brass Monkey, so we're gonna go 3 ways to a flop. The flop is 5, 6, 7 with 2 hearts, so it's a very, very dynamic and wet board. It checks over to Randy, and he bets $75. We have bottom pair, we block the nuts straight, and we do have an open ender. This flop should smash our range and put Randy and all of his value hands in a very tough spot. I'm not too concerned about Brass Monkey, he should have a very wide range. So if I raise here, it serves 2 purposes. It denies equity, and it allows us to possibly see a free river card because Randy should be checking to us on the turn a lot of the time. So I raise to $200. Brass Monkey folds, and now it's on Randy. As you can see, he picks up his cards and starts shuffling them around a little bit, and I happen to see a red jack.
But Randy here seemingly contemplating a fold. He's got his cards well up off the table.
As soon as I saw the card, I let Randy know, hey, I just saw one of your cards, and then he immediately tossed his hand into the muck. However, I think he was already contemplating folding on the flop, which I'm very surprised now to see that he had pocket jacks. I honestly thought he had a hand like king jack. But again, my tight image pays off. We get the best hand to fold, and not only do we take down the pot with our pair of 5s, but we also get to toss in our nit button. We were playing the nit game, and it's just like the stand-up game. If you win a hand, you get to toss your nit button in, and the last person with the nit button has to pay the table all $25 a piece. So thankfully we get to toss it in, not lose the game, and take down the pot. In this hand, the $25 straddle is on, and I look down under the gun 2 at the best hand in poker, pocket aces. So I put in a raise of $75. I pick up 3 callers, including the straddle, who has a 4 of spades, and we don't know what his other card is. So we go 4 ways to a flop of 6, 3, deuce, rainbow. It checks over to me, and this flop is going to coordinate somewhat with my opponents. However, it's really hard for my opponents to have a super strong hand unless, of course, they have 2 pair or a set. It's also quite nice if my opponent flatted hands like pocket 8s, 7s, 9s, 10s, we can get value from all of those. Sure, we're losing to 5-4, but with how strong our hand is, we would love to continue putting money in this pot because we're beating so many hands, even multi-way, so I put out a bet of about a third pot of $100. It folds around to J-Rock, and he raises to $300. Getting raised in this spot does not come as a surprise to me. My opponents are very capable, aggressive, and they do like to bluff. However, J-Rock was one of the less active players at the table up to this point, so it is a tad bit concerning. However, we have pocket aces on a 6-high board. We're not going anywhere. I toss in the call. We head to a turn card, which is the king of clubs, and now my opponent checks. If my opponent was starting to polarize out of position with a very strong hand like 5-4, a set, 2 pair, he's certainly not going to slow down when the king of clubs comes because it's going to show significant strength because he knows I can still have some ace-king suited in my range, and now that I called his flop raise, he knows I probably have a pretty strong hand. However, I lean more towards thinking my opponent is pretty weak here and probably just giving up. So, to be a little bit deceptive and not just blow my opponent off of his bluffs or his equity, let's keep him in with a wider range and put in the check. So we head to a river card, which is an ace from space, so now we have top set. So our plan is coming together quite well as our opponent bets $475 on the river. We're of course going to put in a raise. We are only losing to 5-4 at this point, and if our opponent has that, then well, good for him. We made top set on the river. We're not going anywhere. We're definitely going to raise for value, and so I make it $1,200. I think my opponent had some sort of semi-bluff, maybe a pair with a 4 in his hand, so he does block the nut straight, so I don't fault him for trying to bluff in this spot, but he obviously didn't have a very strong hand, if a hand at all, so my opponent does indeed put in the fold, and we win a very nice pot with pocket aces. In this hand, the $25 straddle is on. It folds to me on the button, and I look down at king 9 offsuit. Definitely going to be good enough to put in the raise, and since the straddle is 25, we're going to make it 75. Randy calls with ace 10 off in one of the blinds. The $25 straddle folds, and so we're gonna go heads up to a flop of 3, 4, 5 with 2 spades. Randy checks it over to me. We have king high, which can be good here some of the time. If we start putting in bets, Randy is more than capable to blow us off of our king high with even a hand like an open ender with a deuce or a 6 in it. I think if we start putting in bluffs on this type of board with king high, it's just too ambitious, especially against this opponent who can absolutely smash this board texture. So I check, and we're headed to a turn card, which is a king, so now we make top pair. Randy checks, and now I bet $75. He's not going to go anywhere with his ace high and his straight draw, so he makes the call, hoping for a decent river card, but the ace rolls off, and that is not one of the cards we wanted to see. Now Randy checks yet again. Any deuce makes a straight, which is always a possibility when Randy's in the hand. Now if we bet here, we're likely only to get called by a hand that has us beat, so we have a great showdown hand with our pair of kings. I check, and unfortunately Randy turns over the ace 10, so we end up losing a pretty sizable pot for what it was, and unfortunately we're gonna have to move on to the next one. So at this point, we are well more than halfway through the stream, and right now I have a stack of about 3.6k, and I'm up about $1,000, which is a nice place to be nearing the end of the stream. In this hand, the knit game is back on, and I still have my knit button. And in this hand, Randy decides to throw out the $50 straddle. It folds all the way around to me in the small blind, and I look down at queen jack offsuit. This is a great chance to attack Randy, try to get heads up in this knit game, and take the pot down. So I'm gonna raise a little bit bigger, being out of position, knowing that Randy is gonna call a very wide range of hands that we will most likely have pretty dominated. So I raise to 200, and sure enough, Randy does come along, so we're gonna go heads up to a flop of 10, 3, 3 rainbow. On this 10 high board, we have 3 to a straight, we have queen high, and we can likely get Randy to fold so many hands. I had kind of decided that once I saw this flop that I was just going to be going for it with his hand, and on this type of board texture I don't need to bet that big to get Randy to fold a lot of hands, and him having 6-4 offsuit is exactly the type of hand that we don't have to bet very big to get to fold. So luckily for us, Randy lets the 6-4 off go, we get to table our hand and get rid of our knit button yet again and pick up a pretty nice pot. In this hand, it folds around to me in the hijack, and I get to open the queen 10 off. I make it $35. I pick up 4 callers, so we are going 5 ways to a flop of ace, king, 10 with 3 clubs. The flop checks all the way around to me, and on this board with no club in our hand, we have bottom pair. Against all these opponents, we are definitely going to be putting in the check. The button checks too, so we're all headed to the turn card, which is another king. Now the big blind leads, another player calls, and now it's on me, and we're not going to do anything here other than put in the fold. We're beat by any king X, all straights, and flushes, and our hand just doesn't fare well here. So we put in the fold correctly as our opponent had flopped the nut straight. In this hand, I'm not entirely sure what the pre-flop action is, but I think I raised to 35 and picked up a few callers in Dunn and Randy. So we go 3 ways to a flop of ace, 3, jack with 2 spades. So we flop ourselves the absolute world with our pair and nut flush draw. Randy leads out of position with his 8-4 of clubs for $55. Dunn isn't going to go anywhere with his ace, and of course I'm going to make the call. Our hand is really good, and we're drawing to the nuts, and we have a very nice pair. Going to be ahead of Randy in his leading range a ton of the time, and I'm not quite sure what Dunn has in this spot. He could definitely have some ace-x here, but we don't want to raise and get called by better. We want to keep all worse hands in. The turn is the 9 of hearts, and it checks over to me. I still am facing 2 opponents, so I check and see what develops on the river. The river is an 8 of diamonds. Now Randy checks, and then Dunn puts out a bet of $200. I think my hand is a little bit too strong to fold, especially because the turn checked through. Sure, I'm going to be losing to some ace-x some of the time and some random straights or 2 pairs, but I have the best jack I could possibly have in this spot. And like I said, I know they think I'm on a little bit of the tighter side, so I think it's a little bit too exploitable for me to fold here, especially because the turn checked through. So I do put in the call. While I will be losing some of the time, I look him up. Randy folds, I see the bad news, and now we gotta regroup and try to finish out the stream strong. Alright you guys, you know what time it is. It is time to buckle up because this is a wild one. We are finishing up the knit game. There's a few of us still with our button, and Fire wanted to leave. He had racked up a really nice profit, and as you can see, he has his chips racked up and ready to go. He was deciding if he should just pay the table to leave the knit game, meaning he would pay us all $25, or he could stay and try to win a hand so he doesn't have to pay the table. The 2 players to my left, Bridge Mike and Brass Monkey, were both joking around with him saying, you should just go all in and that way you can win the game. You're only going to get called by the top 6% of hands, so you're faring pretty well if you just go all in. Right as they're saying this, he peels his cards and open raises to $400. I'm next to act and look down at, oh my gosh, pocket kings. We were just talking about this, how he's only going to get called by the top percentage of hands, and here I am with one of those hands. Of course, we're not going to call here. He did raise the 400. We're going to put in the 3-bet. So I raised to $1,200. My opponent was having a crushing session. He had about $5,500 to start the hand. He then snap jams all in, and here's what happened.
Chips in the rack, and they get all in. They're playing for stacks with ace-4 and pocket kings here. Wow. Did not expect this, Derek.
I have a bad feeling. I hate like calling for stuff like this, but
No, he had pocket 4s.
No, you did not.
Somebody had pocket 4s, they said.
Somebody had pocket aces.
Can we see kings hold one time? I think they're just going to run it once.
Spades. Spades, fire, spades.
Whoa! Does get 2 spades on the flop.
You're saying 3 of spades is kind of spicy. 3 of spades is spicy. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
The other players are asking for spice.
The flop is clean, but the turn brings one of the worst cards I could possibly see besides an ace, of course. It's a spade. So now, headed to this river card, and one of the bigger pots I've played in my career, we need to dodge a spade or an ace. And here's what happens.
Never feels good.
Wow.
The other players at the table. Can she fade it? She does.
oh my gosh.
Set of kings on the river for Poker Face Ash. Nice hand.
So thankfully, the poker gods have heard my prayers. We did not see a spade or an ace on the river, and I end up winning an almost $5,700 pot in one of the last hands of the night in a crazy series of events that leaves us now up a lot of money on this session. It is about 2 hands later, and this was one of the last hands I was going to play for the night as I was ready to head out and head home. Randy raises to $50, Carlos calls, and then I look down in the straddle at pocket kings yet again. Gonna raise bigger here, being out of position and facing a pretty sticky opponent in Randy. Carlos had been pretty quiet tonight, but he's still definitely a capable player. I raised to $250, and sure enough, my plan works. I raise a little bit bigger and get called by 2 hands that I have absolutely crushed. And we're gonna go 3 ways to a flop in this pretty sizable pot. The flop is 8-9-4 rainbow, and this is actually a pretty great flop considering my opponents are going to flop some pieces of this flop like a pair of 8s or 9s, a straight draw, some gut shots. So on this board texture, we're definitely going to be putting in bets. We most likely definitely have the best hand, so I bet $200. But as you can see, my opponents don't have anything to call me with, so they let their hand go, and we win a very nice $700 pot to end the session. So after topping up $500 once during the session, we were in for $2,500, cashed out with $5,760 for a massive, nice chunky profit of $3,260 in a little over 4 hours of play. And if you're wondering what I use to track all of my stats, I use Poker Analytics. They have so many reports, statistics, and filters you can use so you can see any stats that you want to see. Check the link below to download Poker Analytics today. I promise you will love it.
Alright, well, that was quite the stream. I'm really excited to go back and watch some of the hands because I was kind of unhappy with a few of my river calls there. Just should probably be folding and maybe picking some better hands to call on the river, but these guys were playing crazy, so they definitely have bluffs. But besides that, I feel like I played pretty solid, but like I said, I need to go back and watch the stream. So I was in the game for $2,500. I cashed out with a little over $5,700 for a profit of over $3,000. So obviously got super lucky there at the end, but happy to book a win on such a crazy stream where you really have to find spots. And like I've said before, you don't just want to flat a lot of marginal hands because you're gonna get in a lot of tricky spots. So I feel like I played pretty well and I'm super excited. So tomorrow I'm actually headed to Choctaw to play the WSOP circuit events. Tomorrow's the $1,100 100K guarantee. By the way, don't miss out on any action I sell for all these tournaments on Stake Kings. Make sure you guys follow me on there. I'll post the link below. Also, I haven't had a chance to let you guys know, but I had a pretty amazing summer where I actually had the deepest run in a bracelet event of my entire career. I finished 16th place in the $1,500 monster stack for over $56,000. $100,000 and first place was 1.1 million. So it was pretty crazy. I had Joe Cata to my left when we were down to like the final 3 tables. It was such a crazy ride, and if you guys want to see my whole WSOP summer, it is on my second channel, Ashley Frank Vlogs, so make sure you guys check it out. The whole summer recap is there for you guys. I vlogged every single week I was there. Well, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the vlog. If you did, would you do me a huge favor and go all in and like, comment, and subscribe? It would mean the world to me. We are just getting started on this crazy journey. It's only up from here. I'll see you guys next time.